All right, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are out there. Again, welcome to the Merchant Services Slayers group. Again, my name's Carson Cook, and today we're going to be covering a topic, very interesting topic actually. It's in the Objection series, the videos that we're going to be doing, guys, on the Merchant Services Slayers. Please make sure also, if you can, like, share, subscribe. Also share these videos with anyone that wants to really get into processing and actually put some practical use and practical knowledge to actually selling merchant processing, guys. So today we're going to talk about two different objections or concerns, client concerns surrounding cash discount. We're going to do a whole series of these videos, guys, that are going to really kind of go into how do we approach certain objections with cash discount, what we do, what we say, how do we actually angle our responses to get the best cause of action to actually have a merchant sign up for cash discounting. So the first one we're going to talk about, okay, it's a series of two. I'm going to give 2 points or two different responses for each one of these common objections that we hear when we're actually face-to-face with merchants and we're discussing cash discounting and how it works. And again, this goes through the whole process. So if you have many different sales strategies and steps of the sale, ways of presenting cash discount the correct way, you're going to get some of these objections. So it's better to be prepared with 2 to 3, maybe even 4 different responses to the same concern or the same merchant's objection for cash discounting, okay? It's just because of a few different things, a few different reasons and psychology behind that is that when you give a response the first time, you properly give it, they might not internalize it the right way. So you might want to take a sip of water, think about it, regroup, and give the same response, but just in a different way for them to understand it. Okay, so super important to do that. So give multiple responses. You need to be armored with these, especially because if you're left with pausing on an objection or a concern, it could stumble and ruin the deal. So we're going to talk about 2 different objections, and we're going to give 2 different responses for each of those objections and how to sell cash discount. The first one is, let me ask my customer, okay? I'm gonna talk to my customers and find out how they're gonna feel about this, okay? And it's super important to understand 2 different ways around this objection. You're gonna get that. Well, I like the program, Carson, but yeah, I'm gonna talk to my customers, okay? I need to find out how they're gonna feel about it. The first thing or a way around this is that you kind of say, well, I completely understand that you want to do that. It's a market study, right? Your customers are what define your business and they define your market, but it's a poor market test. Okay, and it's super important to understand that is that this is something that you don't necessarily need to ask your customers about because you're the business owner. You're the one that controls your profit. You're the one that controls your business and your pricing. A good example of this is, let me ask you this. When you actually made your menu, did you consult with any of your customers? 99% of the time, they're going to say no. Well, also, this is something you don't need to consult with your customers about because, of course, you're running into a situation where you're asking them, should I raise my prices? Should I keep them low? And at the end of the day, no, you're the one that sets the price, okay? Number 2 is the example that I give them. We say, well, I understand that you'd like to talk to your customers, but this is something where it's free versus purchasing, okay? Even if you have valid lifelong customers, I can guarantee you even family and friends eat free, right? So if you ask your customers, would they like to pay $11.95 for this slice of pizza or for this pizza, or would they take it for free? I can guarantee you they'd like to take it for free. Okay, a good example of that is there's a pizza shop in New York that's actually called Pay It Forward. So if you buy a slice of pizza for $1, okay, they actually donate a slice of pizza to someone who's homeless, okay, and they appreciate that. That's the power of marketing, but it's also the power of something for free. I can guarantee you that your most loyal customers will walk in here and they'd rather give you the advice saying, yeah, I'd rather take this meal for free. So that's not the right market to ask on something like this. It's not a good idea, right? So pointing out this concern is working with your merchant, help them understand that I understand that you're scared that you don't want to charge your customers because you're going to lose business, but asking them if they'd like the fee or not, I can guarantee you that 99% of them are going to say, no, we don't like the fee. But you're the boss, you're the owner, you're the one in control, you're the one that sets your profit margin, and you're the ultimate leader of this business. You set the pricing, not your customer. The second thing that you have to understand too is that same group of people that would say, I don't like this, also will say in a certain scenario, yeah, I'd rather have it for free. Okay, it doesn't work like that. It's like have your meal and then give us a donation. Okay, donation models don't work very well, guys. They really don't. For-profit businesses work very well. So keep that in mind when you're talking to your customer. It is a straw man argument, yes, but it's the same group that you're asking. So you're asking a control group one thing and you're asking a control group another thing. Mr. Merchant, it's not a good idea to ask whether they like the fee or not because I can guarantee they're going to say no, but they also don't like your pricing. They'd rather not pay for food. It's as simple as that. Or they'd rather not pay for your service. They'd rather get a free massage. They'd rather get free gas. They'd rather get free anything, right? That's the power of marketing. So it's a flawed argument, okay? I wouldn't ask your customers. Let's focus on something else. What are your other concerns about cash discounting? Okay? Number two, the second concern or objection with cash discounting that's very popular is, I wouldn't do this myself. I know that if I went to a business, I wouldn't shop there. If I got charged this fee, I'd never come back. Okay, and the 2 points that we have with that is, first is called the fallacy of single representation. Okay, what does that mean? That means just because you're a part of a group, you're a single individual in a group, and your values and your core decision-making process works on your values, doesn't mean that it represents the whole group. Okay, and that's very sure also in American politics. Just because you're Democrat doesn't mean you have all the Democratic views. Just because you're Republican doesn't mean you have all the Republican views. You can be somewhere in the middle. Okay, it's a spectrum, right? There's all sorts of things that go on there. So it's the fallacy of single representation, which means that, I wouldn't do this myself is not a good justification of why your customers wouldn't do it. Just because you wouldn't do it doesn't mean that 99% of your customers are going to have a problem with it. That also shows, Mr. Merchant, that you don't really have value in your product or service. I can guarantee you that you would do this if you knew the value and the benefits. So let's cover those. Let's go through those. Let's investigate those a little bit more and find out why you wouldn't do this. I mean, it could be a thing of morals, right? Morals is not the best way to make a business decision, right? Usually, yes, it is, but it's an emotional thing. So you have to understand you're running a logical business that makes profit, the numbers are there, but yet you're making an emotional decision because you wouldn't do it yourself. Doesn't mean that you'd have to spend thousands of dollars just to hold up that principle, which doesn't make any sense. When there's 30% of the businesses out there doing this, Chipotle just raised their prices 4%, also Hilton just installed this. They know something that you don't. Obviously, they have $1 billion business. I would do it, okay? And then the second point to that is that this is actually a possible cop-out. Now, what that means is you could tell your merchant, John, I completely get that, but let me ask you this. If you took your family somewhere and you had a really good dinner, right, and it was amazing, right, and it's a good product or you got a good service, definitely like your business here, as you told me earlier in the sale, that a lot of customers come here for your service, that customers come here for the value you bring, and a lot of customers come here for a lot of benefits, right? So if they come here for that, they're coming here for your service, not your price. You can go to Yelp right now, and I can guarantee you there's going to be one review on Yelp that's going to discuss your pricing. It's going to be good customer service, bad customer service. They love the product. They love the service. Yes? So why does price have anything to do with it? So this could be a possible cop-out, John. Cop-out, what do you mean? Well, you say that you might see this fee somewhere and you'd never shop there again. You could do that with gas. You've probably done it before, but I can guarantee you there's also places you've been where you haven't even noticed it, number one. Number two, if it was a really good service, you'd be okay with that extra 4%, because 4% is not a big deal. It's not a big deal to you as a customer, but it's a big deal to you as a business owner, correct? Yeah. So with that being said, you can see that that's also a poor case in judgment here. Just because you wouldn't do it doesn't mean that half 95 to 85% of your customers aren't even going to notice. The other 25 to 20% that do notice, it's all about how you explain it to them. Okay, so I get what you're saying, but until you're put in that real life situation, you've probably been charged this before. At this point in cash discounting in our industry, it's all over the place. So you've probably been charged and not even known it. And for those that you did charge and you did known it, I bet you've gone back. And I bet you've gone back before too. So you say that you would never shop there again, but that's not the majority. And the majority are the people that actually shop and buy your product and your service here at your business. So that's also a poor choice. Let's move forward to discuss the actual dynamics of the program so that you can see how we train your staff on how to deal with a possible concern. There's a big difference between a concern and a complaint. Most of the time, customers don't complain, they just have a concern. If your staff is trained on how to handle it, you're training your customer. Now it becomes a normal thing. In 2 to 3 months, you're going to see that your business volume actually might go up with marketing for the money that you save. So keep that in mind, guys. Those are the 2 objections that we're covering today. Let me ask my customers, and I wouldn't do it myself, right? Or if I got charged myself, I wouldn't shop there again. Okay, 2 common objections we see in cash discounting. Again, to review, the first one, let me ask my customer. First one, that's a poor market test, right? Let me ask you this. If your menu, did you ask your customers about your menu? Pricing, they're 99.9% of people say, no, I didn't ask them for that. So why would you ask them on this or a price change? If you raise your prices, yes. Okay, when you raise your prices, did you ask your customers how they'd feel? And they say no. Okay, so this is the same thing. Free versus purchase. 95 to 90% of your 90 to 95% of your customers, even if they're loyal, they'd rather have your service for free. Okay, it's just marketing, right? And that's a common marketing tool. So to ask them is not a good choice. It's not a good market test. The second objection is I wouldn't do it myself, right? So the 2 things that we cover today too is the fallacy of single representation. Just because you, Mr. Merchant, wouldn't do it yourself doesn't mean that all of your customers, all the 500 transactions that you ran, 500 customers this month or 1,000 customers you ran this month, that doesn't mean they're going to make the same decision you made. right? And then number two for that, I wouldn't want to do it myself, or if I got charged, I wouldn't shop there again, is that's a possible cop-out. That's just not true. I mean, you could, maybe, you might have in the past, but I can guarantee you at this point in merchant services and credit card processing, you've shopped somewhere, it's happened to you, you haven't even noticed, and you still went back. So therefore, if you say you would never do that, but you've done it, it's a possible cop-out. I would just say, let's focus on something else. Let's move forward. Let's find out why you wouldn't. What are the morals behind it? What's your emotional decision-making behind it? Why would that make you angry? And let me train your staff so that way they can deal with someone who might have a concern. Because even if you got angry, you wouldn't get angry. You wouldn't have a complaint. You just have a concern, correct? Yes. Okay. So rock and roll, Slayers. Let's kick some ass. Let's have a solid rest of the sales week, and I will see all you guys out there on the sales board, guys.